Okay, here we are. Number one, we have started to live stream on the Hyannis Country Garden Facebook page. Number two, you folks are already streaming in the room. You are so good. So we have people coming in, and welcome. I'm CL Fornari. If this is your first happy hour with me, I'll chat in a minute about how we work these things. If this is your umpteenth happy hour, maybe you have joined me since we started these during COVID. And if it's your first or your second or your 44th or your 104th happy hour, welcome. For those who know that this is what I do, I invite you to open chat, which is in a little speech bubble down below, and to type into chat where you are joining from and what is in your glass. Now, I often say it doesn't matter what is in your glass. It could be water, like is in my glass. It could be tea. It could be coffee. It could be a cocktail. It could be whatever you take pleasure in. What matters is that we are sitting down together with our beverage to toast to something life-affirming, which is plants. And tonight, it's that most life-affirming plant, which are the hydrangea group. Oh, and now you are typing in, ooh, Nancy Bourbon. I can hardly wait until I'm off the call to indulge in that Diet Coke. Sounds delicious and refreshing. Water and Chardonnay and cranberry juice. And oh my goodness, everybody has something different, and that is a wonderful thing. And it is great to see those here from many parts of the Cape and Islands, certainly, and some far-flung places as well. Welcome. So let me explain to you while you are all typing in there about where you are joining from and what is in your glass. Let me say that number one, how I do this is I have a prepared presentation for you with good visuals, all right? And we will go through that first. Don't click on raise your hand because I don't pay any attention to that, because the human brain is not capable of multitasking. So all I can do is give my presentation. I can't pay attention to raised hands as well. All right. But if you have questions, either about hydrangeas or something else, you can type them in chat. And after I get done with the presentation, I will go to chat and I will take those in the order that they came in until 6 o'clock. Should there not be time to address all of those questions? Oh, Sue, you raised your hand. All right, you people are funny. Should there not be time to address all of those questions, by all means know that I will copy chat at the end, and then I will answer those questions in the Hyannis Country Garden blog, which gets posts on Monday. All right, so know that. Okay, we have people here from Cotuit to Quebec, and so welcome. And let us get started because hydrangeas is a pretty big topic. And we are going to cover several things today. And should we not cover what's most on your mind, you can type those questions into chat. So let me just close out of chat so that I'm not distracted. Let me click on share my screen, and we're sharing happy hour. We are playing the slideshow and the technology is working. Life is good. Life is good. Welcome to the Hydrangea Happy Hour. As I say, grab the beverage of your choice, but you know, if you are covering your beverage, whether it's a cocktail or a glass of tea, if you want it blue for blue hydrangeas, You can do that with blue pea powder. Hydrangeas are not edible. And so you don't want to steep hydrangeas in your glass. But you can buy blue pea powder. Let's see if I can spit it out on Amazon, and you can stir it into sparkling water or regular water or your cocktail or tea, and it is blue. And if you then add some lemon or lime to it, it turns purple. So fun to do. All right, feel free. If you want to remember a picture, get your cell phone, take a picture of your computer screen, or take a screenshot if you know how to do that in order to remember something. Know that this is being recorded and it is live right now on Facebook, and it will be on the Hyannis Country Garden Facebook page moving into the future, so you can watch the recording there. Oftentimes we put up recordings on our events page at the bottom of the page as well. So if we get a big outcry for this on that, we will post there. So there are options for you to remember the names here. And if you want to just sit back and relax and take it in, and then later you think, now, what was that plant she recommended? There are ways that you can go back and get that information, including at the end of this presentation, I will give you my email at Hyannis Country Garden. We have 2 Hydrangea Fest events coming up here on Cape Cod. We today started the Cape Cod Hydrangea Festival, for those of you who are new to this event. Last night we had the kickoff party at Hyannis Country Garden, and thank you for so many people who came out to that. It was a lot of fun. Even Doug the Quahog came, and if you're not familiar with Doug, look for him on Facebook. He has his own Facebook page. And so I got to hang out with Doug the Quahog for a while and introduce him to our marketing director, Aaron. So we have a couple of other events coming up. Hydrangea Stroll, I'm doing a walk and talk on the 17th with people who show up at Hyannis Country Garden at 3 p.m. and we will walk through the hydrangea section, and I'll talk about the plants and answer questions. And that usually takes about 35, 40 minutes. Then on the 19th, we're having a Hydrangea Happiness event. I will be giving a short talk about hydrangeas there. And we have some artists and some munchies, and the dress code is blue and purple. So dress yourself up and come on in. It will be rain or shine. Should it be raining on that day, we have a big greenhouse that we can move into. Now, I want to go over some grape varieties that I have recently seen in our nursery. And for those of you who are on the Cape, right now, hydrangeas are 20% off. So get yourself in there, make a shopping list, and come on in, because we've got a lot of really wonderful plants. And I have only picked a few of them here. This is Firelight Tidbit. This is a paniculata, and we'll get to an explanation of different types in a minute. But this one is Firelight Tidbit, and I had to show it because it's one of my favorite. And from Proven Winners Color Choice Plants. Here it is in a container on my garden, on my deck. If you are looking for a plant that you can leave in a large container, larger than this comes into the garage because it's ceramic, right? And I don't want it to break in the winter. But if you have a larger wooden or plastic or fiberglass container on the back deck or your patio, and you want to plant a hydrangea that can make it through the winter, Firelight Tidbit is for you. You can see how pretty it is, nice and bushy. This is how it looks in the fall. This is a picture from October. It turns pink, the foliage turns orange. It's a panicle type, and in the garden, not in a container, it grows to about 3 feet tall. So if you need a hydrangea for full sun that stays fairly short, Firelight Tidbit is a great one for you. Quick Fire Fab is another new variety from the proven winners color choice. People, Quick Fire is a series that are known for early flowering. We've got Quick Fire, we've got Little Quick Fire, we've got Tiny Quick Fire, and we've got Quick Fire Fab, and they all are slightly different, but they all come into bloom a little bit earlier than some paniculatas. If you are growing limelight, you might not see any flowers yet. My limelight is not yet even budded much, right? But my quick fires, oh my goodness, yes. So this one is an early to bloom plant. It's a big plant. It will get about 6 feet tall and wide. So a good one for a mixed shrub border, a good one for a plant in your privacy screening. And the flowers age to pink in the fall. Early flowering, pink later in the fall. Bobo is long a favorite in the landscape because it stays shorter. It grows to be about 4 feet tall and wide. You can grow it in the garden. It is pretty and white, not as early blooming as the Quick Fire series, but comes into flower at the end of July. And for those of you who don't want pink in the garden, and there are those people who don't want pink, this is one that does not get pink in the fall. It turns sort of an ivory in the fall. It is also a good one in that 4 to 5 range for a container. Here is a newer variety that you might not be aware of yet. It's called pufferfish. It is a paniculata, so cold, hardy, right? You can grow this in Chicago, no problem. And good, strong stems, fluffy flowers. That's one of the things that really distinguishes pufferfish. It is not a screening plant. It's more of a medium-sized paniculata, about 5 by 5. You want to plant this in full sun or in part sun. Twist and shout. I have to admit that back in the day, I was not a real fan of lace cap hydrangeas. Now, lace cap hydrangeas are hydrangeas that have a row of big, showy, infertile flowers around a cluster of smaller fertile flowers. Sometimes people who grow a lace cap for the first time think that there's something wrong, that the inside is not opening up. There's nothing wrong. This is how it's supposed to look, all right? Those big infertile flowers, they're actually sepals around the outside. Those are to catch the insect's attention. Those are saying to the pollinators, I've got something here for you. And the inside, smaller true flowers, those have a nectar source frequently for the pollinators. This is twist and shout right here. And this is one of the lace caps that changed my mind about lace caps. It is a sturdy plant. It's fairly bud hardy. It is gorgeous in bloom. It puts out a few new flowers later in the fall, should you have a polar vortex and it get frozen to the ground. But like other hydrangeas, the majority of these flowers come on growth that they developed last year, and we'll go over that more in a minute. Jetstream oak leaf. This is one of the oak leaves from the first editions branding of plants. And don't you love the tag, shrubs are the new kale? Well, not all of them are edible. Okay, and kale, I have to admit, can feed you all summer, fall, and into the winter. When you plant Tuscan kale, okay, we won't talk about vegetables, but I like the humor in first editions plants. So kudos to the First Editions marketing team. And if you come into Country Garden and look for First Editions plants, you will find some very amusing tags. They're good. All right. Now, this one is a stem sturdy oak leaf, and it grows to about 6 feet tall. And by stem sturdy, I mean those flowers stay upright. There are some oak leaves that the flowers are big and heavy and gorgeous, but they kind of droop over. Sometimes that's attractive enough. It looks kind of like a weeping plant. Some people don't like it. If you want a plant that holds those upright, this is an oak leaf for you. Now, you can grow all oak leaves in full sun to part sun. Sometimes people think that these are shade plants. They tolerate shade. They don't require shade, number one. Number two, they often bloom better and have better fall color in full sun. So if you want to take advantage of that brilliant red fall colored foliage so that you have a second gorgeous time for an oak leaf hydrangea, including the jet stream hydrangea, then plant them in a little more sun, part sun or full sun for the best fall color. This is a Let's Dance can do. And I have often said, finally, a hydrangea that is blue or lavender that I can recommend to people in Wisconsin, at least in the central or lower parts of Wisconsin. This is a plant that I can recommend honestly to people who garden in a zone 5. And I learned about this the first year I had it, because the first year I had can do, and that's the important part to remember. There are many plants with the Let's Dance in the front, all right? So don't just write down Let's Dance, write down can do. When I first grew this, I planted it, it was nice, and that winter we had a polar vortex and it got to be 9 degrees below zero. That is what I call hydrangea danger. All right, that's hydrangea danger temperatures. And sure enough, most of our macrophyllus and serratas, the big leaf and the mountain varieties, died to the ground. This one happens to be a cross between macrophylla and serrata, meaning it's a little more bud hardy, but this one also died to the ground at 9 degrees below zero. But you know what happened? It came back out of the ground in May with flower buds on the end of all of those new canes. Now, we call this in the plant world a remontant plant. Remontant just means that it flowers both from buds that it made the previous year and on growth that it grows this year. That's what remontant means. And there are many great remontant varieties, but some of them don't flower on the ends of that newer growth until the fall. Endless Summer is one variety, and Twist and Shout. I love both of those plants, but they don't come out of the ground with new growth with flowers on the end. This one did, and this one was in full bloom after that polar vortex, and it is one of the few in the Let's Dance series that do that. So yay, bloomed early for me after a polar vortex. It's a smaller plant, grows 3 to 4 feet tall. So for those of you who need a hydrangea for a part shade, say foundation planting, right? Or among your perennials, look at how gorgeous this is with my Asian artistry daylilies. Great plant. Pink or purple, and one that I can once again recommend to people in a zone 5. So Let's Dance can do, and that's the important part, can do. Now, let's start back about what type of hydrangea you can plant, because part of it depends on your sun or shade. Part of it depends on where you live and how cold it gets, right? And part of it depends on what you want to see and how large a plant you want. So there are many considerations, and not all hydrangeas are the same. Let's talk first about the mop heads and the lace caps. Hydrangea macrophylla, Hydrangea serrata. Hydrangea macrophylla are the mop heads, aka big leaves. That's what macrophylla means, is big leaf, okay? Serrata are the mountain hydrangeas, and those are often lace caps, usually lace caps. So these both behave in a similar way, which is why we're grouping them together here. Big leaf and mountain. You want to grow these in morning sun and afternoon shade. And this is very important. Yes, they will tolerate full sun, but I'm going to explain to you why you don't want to do that if at all possible, okay? Because if you grow them in full sun, by the end of July, this is what you will see. In full sun, the flowers brown out fairly quickly. And we don't want that. We want our hydrangeas to last into September, don't we? We want to be able to pick them in early September and dry them or make a hydrangea wreath. So if you plant them in full sun, you will not have that happen. Yes, they will look lovely right now in early July, but by the end of July, they will brown out, and on really hot days, some of their colorful sepals will brown and get scorched. And again, you don't want that to happen. So plant these where they get some early morning sun and afternoon shade, or even the dappled sunlight through the canopy of high trees. That's okay too. Um, because you want the flowers to last longer. Now, these are the only varieties of hydrangeas that change color with the pH of the soil, all right? So if you hear about hydrangeas changing from blue to pink, and how do I make them blue, how do I make them pink, it's only macrophyllas and serratas that do that. And sulfur is a gentle way to lower the pH so that your hydrangeas will be blue. Here we have a nice exhibit at Hyannis Country Garden with the blue hydrangeas and the organic soil acidifier, which is sulfur. All right, you can use aluminum sulfate, and there are some non-organic, some synthetic fertilizers that will also lower pH. You have to be more careful with those because they can burn your plants, all right? Sulfur is a gentle way to make your soil acidic. If you live on Cape Cod, you should not have to lower the acidity of your soil unless your hydrangea bed is being made more alkaline by lime applied to the lawn or a cement foundation that the hydrangea is close to, or stone dust on a walkway that's close to your hydrangeas. So sometimes hydrangeas turn pink over time because of where they are being grown. And in that case, you will need to lower the pH with sulfur in order to make them blue again. Now, this is a hydrangea in my yard, all right? And if you come and see my garden during the Cape Cod Hydrangea Festival, you will see this plant. On one side of it, it has acidic soil, and so the flowers are blue. On the other side, it's close to a walkway with stone dust, and those flowers are pink. So it's a plant that can't quite make up its mind. I don't attempt to do anything with soil pH for the hydrangeas in my property. We have naturally acidic soil here where I live in Sandwich, and the hydrangeas turn blue. And so most of the time I just let them do what they do. This plant, I let it, be half blue and half pink, partly because it's a good educational plant for people who come to my garden. Okay, now the other two varieties of hydrangea we're going to talk about, the panicle type, Hydrangea paniculata, and the smooth hydrangea, Hydrangea arborescens, they will not turn blue in acidic soil. They won't turn blue unless you spray paint them blue, all right? So just know that those plants in those two species will not turn blue. And let's look at some of the panicle types, because I can pretty much guarantee you that you can grow a panicle hydrangea, unless you're joining me from a really, really hot, dry area like Santa Fe, New Mexico. It might be a little dicey for you in very, very hot places. But there are many parts of Oklahoma that I have seen panicle hydrangeas growing very well. There are many parts of Florida where they grow these plants very well. So look around, ask at your local garden center if you are unsure if you can grow it if you're not on Cape Cod. You want to grow these in full sun or part sun. This is that puffer fish that I showed you earlier. You don't want these in shade. They won't flower as well. They'll live. They won't be quite as happy. This one is Quick Fire Fab. And I showed that earlier. Quick Fire Fab is a great one because what I wanted to make the point is that some of these paniculatas, they turn pink as the flowers age. And that's a good thing to know. You want to put these where they can grow beyond their listed height. Read the height on the tag, add 2 feet to it, and plant them accordingly, okay? Because a lot of people, they think when they buy that Limelight that it will make a good plant by the foundation, and then they end up having to prune it every single year, chop it down, and over time it gets less attractive as a result. Why not plant them where they can get to be as large as their genetics tell them to get? And a lot of these bigger growing plants, Limelight and Quickfire and Vanilla Strawberry, they make a wonderful element in your screening. This is a mixed shrub screen that screens our front yard from the road. And we have tall junipers and American holly and a Chinese fir and a bayberry and a Quickfire hydrangea that is currently about 7 or 8 feet tall. And that Quickfire blooms early. It's in bloom all summer long in the full sun, and it turns pink in the fall. The smooth hydrangeas, these are our native hydrangeas, a group of native hydrangeas, native to the mid-Atlantic region. You can get them with white flowers. You can get them with pale pink, dark pink, and green flowers, and mauve flowers. And the breeders are coming up with all kinds of new varieties, short, medium, and tall. And by tall, most of these top out at about 4 to 5 feet. So these are not the ones that are going to be 8 feet tall. They flower on new growth. So even if you live in central Wisconsin, where I'm from, these will flower, all right? And even if your landscapers cut them back hard in the spring, these will still flower. I would encourage you not to cut them back hard, but they will still flower. And they do very well in full sun to part shade. The breeders are working on smaller smooth varieties like Mini Mauvette and Wee White, and they are also working on varieties that are more stem sturdy, like Flowerful and Stormproof. So look for some of these new ones that are coming out, hitting the marketplace this year and next year, and they are guaranteed to make you happy. The oak leaf hydrangea is another of our native hydrangeas, and it is Hydrangea quercifolia. And there are new varieties of this coming out all the time as well. Short, medium, tall, flowers that stay white, flowers that age a little bit into the tan and green, flowers that age pink. You want to plant these in full sun to part shade. Now, many people think that these are actually full shade plants, and they are not. These are plants that do best in full sun to part shade. They will tolerate full shade. They don't bloom as well, and you don't get the same level of brilliant fall color on the foliage when they are in full shade. Here is the climbing hydrangea, and you can kind of get a sense from that house that is being eaten alive by the climbing hydrangea that these are big plants. This is not one to plant on a small trellis or arbor. This is a plant where you can put it where it can kind of go nuts, all right? Because they will get 30 to 60 feet tall. Know a couple of things about a climbing hydrangea. Number one, they take a while to get going, okay? Number two, they often do not flower well for the first 5, 6, 7 years. Be patient with this plant. Water it very deeply once a week. It will reward you eventually. And not only will it have those lacy flowers in May, it will also give you wonderful, brilliant yellow fall color. But it is a very large plant. It's also a plant that sticks onto buildings with what are called holdfasts. You see those hairs that are coming out of the stem on this climbing hydrangea? That's what holds this plant on. It doesn't really twine up the trellis that much as it holds onto the side of buildings. Now that can be for some people a problem, because if you need to reshingle, you got to rip this whole thing down. If you need to repaint, you've got to rip this whole plant down. And it's a plant that can keep the side of your house more moist, because all of that thick foliage and stems here can hold moisture in, and shingles are more likely to rot under this plant when you grow it on your house. So just be informed, be aware. All right. You can get this handout on the Hyannis Country Garden website. If you go to hyanniscountrygarden.com, all right, and you click on resources, and then you go scroll down to informational handouts, you will find this to download, and you can print it out. It kind of goes through everything that I just showed you or told you. So do that. All right, 2025, it's a good hydrangea year for us here on the Cape. If you are fairly local and have not yet made plans to come down for the Hydrangea Festival, it's going on for the next 9 days. Come and visit, because we've got things going on. Oh, and I wanted to point out this plant. This plant is another in the Let's Dance series. It's another one that I'm totally in love with. It is Let's Dance Sky View. And this one is Let's Dance Rhythmic Blue. All good shorter variety hydrangeas that come into flower on new growth early. Now, if your big leaf or mountain hydrangea is not blooming, let's talk about the problems. This is a big daddy hydrangea. Big daddy is not very bud hardy, and so it needs a really warm winter for this plant to bloom. And there are many summers where the canes die to the ground. Those are all the bare dead canes that you see here that really need to be cut out. The plant grows back from the roots with all kinds of lovely green foliage, but it won't bloom this year. Big Daddy is not a particularly reliable macrophylla. So if your plant is not blooming, either you have a variety that isn't bud hardy, or it was cut down or neatened up, either in the fall or the spring. Never do that. Or it dried up in 2024. If you are in the Northeast, we had a dry summer. Last year, we had a dry fall, more unusual, and we had a dry winter, even more unusual. And because these plants make their flower buds in July and August for the next year, if they aren't watered in a dry fall, those buds can dry up and be zapped in the winter, not because of cold temperatures, but because they dried out. This is how these hydrangeas form the germ of next year's growth that will be a flower. If you look at your hydrangea in late July or August, you see where the leaf joins the stem. This is called the leaf node, and that's where the leaf currently joins the stem. Oops. And right now, in July and August, these buds are formed, and everything depends on those making it through the winter, not getting cut down, not getting neatened up, right? Not freezing and not drying out. Then you will have flowers on this plant, but everything depends upon that. You never try and make them shorter. Don't try and keep them under the window. You are doomed to lose, and you want to keep them watered into the fall. Now, it's okay for you to clip off faded or brown flowers, and you want to just clip them off right underneath that bloom, okay? That's all right. That won't hurt flowering for next year, but you only take the very top. So you live with it above the window, and frankly, why would I not want to have this above the window? Because I can stand in my kitchen and look out and see the top of the flowers on this lace cap hydrangea. But I never, ever want to prune this back because it will replace its height in one summer, and the top will be a dome of green. This is what you will get if you try to neaten them up or make them shorter. You will get a whole top of a hydrangea that is just as tall as it was the previous year, and it will be all green, and the only flowers you have will be down around the bottom. These plants in a good hydrangea year like this year should be top to bottom blue. They should be blue over the whole plant. You should, on some of these plants, you should see as much blue as green. And when I see a plant like this on a property, I know it has been pruned back or neatened up in the fall or the spring. There is never a good time to do that. Now, you should also know that some gift hydrangeas are not bred for bud hardiness. These are blue hydrangeas that are sold for Easter and Mother's Day. We have them in our greenhouses. You find them in every box store and supermarket. They are bred to be nice gift plants at Easter and Mother's Day. And many of them are not bud hardy. They are not intended to be landscape plants. They were selected as greenhouse gift plants. If you want a plant for the outside of your yard and garden, you want to come to the nursery, you want to come to our garden center, and you want to pick out a plant that has been trialed outside in many parts of this country. You know, the companies that produce these hydrangeas, they trial them, they plant them in various places. They spend years developing varieties that are good for outside. These are not greenhouse gift plants. So know that, all right? Yeah, if you want to plant that greenhouse gift plant outside as an experiment, by all means do so, but do not count on that flowering again for you in the future. Now let's talk about staking a floppy hydrangea, because some hydrangeas aren't stem sturdy. Stem sturdiness is a genetic matter. This is an endless summer. Endless summer is a wonderful plant. It is not particularly stem sturdy. And one of the things that growers and breeders and branders are selecting for moving into the future is stem sturdiness, because we don't want our flowers to end up in the mud after a heavy rain, do we? But there is, if you've got plants that are not stem sturdy, like Annabelle, like Endless Summer, there's a pretty easy way to stake them, and here it is. All right. Fertilizer, you should know, however, doesn't make them stronger. So don't think that if you fertilize these plants, it's going to make the stem stronger. It actually makes them more floppy, because fertilizer makes the flowers go bigger. It makes the stems grow longer, which are floppier, and your flowers are going to be heavier, and they're going to be even more likely to end up in the mud. Here's what you want to do. You want to get a good sturdy bamboo stake, and you want to put it right in the middle of that plant, not over on the edge, in the middle of your hydrangea. This is an Annabelle. My Annabelles right now look like this. One of the things I need to do tomorrow is stake my Annabelle plant. So I will be pushing that stake in. Make sure that it's well watered so you can put that stake a good 1 foot into the ground or more. Get a stake that's about 4 or 5 feet tall to put into a plant that is 4 feet tall. Then you take a roll of twine and you tie the end of it to the stake. And then you bring that twine out and you wrap it around, not all the way around, just so that it's pulling up one of the closest stems, and you pull it up so that that initial one is upright. You wrap the twine once all the way around the stake. Then you go out and you get the next one and you circle it around, and you pull that stem up. And then you go and you pull another one up. And the first group that you pull up fairly upright so that they are fairly close to the stake. And in fact, they're going to hide the stake. And every time you come back and you circle that twine all the way around the stake. And then you pull the next group not quite so far so that they're leaning a little more. And then the next group so that they are leaning a little more. You don't have to do all of those hydrangea stems, but you do about half of them. And you end up with what, when you look down, it looks like umbrella spokes. And this is how it looks. This is the plant after I staked it. And about the top half here are being held in place, and the bottom half are being allowed to droop as they normally do. But this is a plant that looks natural. When I drive around and see that somebody has put a stake in and then they've wrapped a cord or a rope all the way around the outside of that plant and pulled it up, and you've got a plant that is held in bondage. It's ready to be burned at the stake, and it doesn't look pretty in the garden. So this staking method allows you to keep those plants looking natural, flowers top to bottom, in a very beautiful and graceful way. And it doesn't take long. Let's talk about a couple of possible problems before we get to questions. And number one is cottony scale. You want to spray with either all seasons oil or something like Fertilome triple action that has pyrethrins in it. And you want to spray under the foliage, and you probably need to do it more than once. If you only have a few leaves that have cottony scale on the inside, just clip them off and throw them out. And you will see this on many varieties of hydrangeas. This is four-lined plant bug damage. Sometimes people confuse this with a fungus, But how it's different is you only see it on certain leaves. Look at how all of this foliage is clean, right? That's because the four-line plant bug was feeding on the newest foliage. They like the new stuff. And they pierced the tissue again and again, making all of those dots in a tight cluster, right? This is a cosmetic problem. You don't need to treat it. There's only one generation of four-line plant bug in the summer. It's come and gone by now. If you see this on your plant and you see that the new foliage there is not damaged, you know that insect has come and gone and you don't have to do a thing. Off the hook. This is chili thrips damage, and it causes kind of knitted foliage. It looks distorted, curled a little bit, and webby like foliage. Know this about chili thrips. First of all, if you want to treat, you need to use a product that's labeled for thrips, not just what you happen to have in the garage, because that may or may not work. Find a product labeled for thrips, okay? Know that some of your hydrangeas are more prone to this than others. And know that one of the best things to do if you see this is in the fall when those leaves fall off, clean up under the plant right away. Thrips overwinter in the leaf litter under a plant. Deny them that leaf litter and they will die in the winter. So you can pretty well keep this a little bit under control most of the time by cleaning under the plants that had the problem. And before we get to our questions, I want to remind you that the curtain has gone up on the Cape Cod Hydrangea Festival for 2025 through the next 2 weekends. And all next week, there are over 100 private gardens open Cape-wide. It costs $5 to get into a garden, and that money goes directly to a local nonprofit. Win, win, win event. You can see the descriptions of all the gardens. You can download the booklet that has the addresses that you can see day by day which towns have which gardens open, okay? So download that booklet, read online the descriptions of the garden so you know where you want to go. It's all at CapeCodHydrangeaFest.com. My garden in Sandwich, and this is only one tiny, tiny little piece of my hydrangea mania here in Sandwich. My gardens are open on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The address is in that booklet. So I hope I see you. And if you found out about this event on this talk tonight, make sure to come and tell me about it. A reminder that Thursday I'm doing a walk and talk through the hydrangea section. Hydrangeas are on sale through the Hydrangea Festival, and I'll tell you about some great varieties. And we have on the 19th an event. I'm doing a brief talk there, and we have artists and refreshments and wear something blue or purple, and we're going to have a fun time there. So now it is time to type questions in chat. But if you want to make note of my email at Country Garden, this is it. clfornari@countrygarden.com. So take a shot of that, and we are going to go into stop share, and I am going to come back and open chat, and I'm going to go up to the top, and we will take the questions until 6 o'clock. If I have not answered your question by 6 o'clock, know that I will answer them in the Hyannis Country Garden blog, posted probably on Monday. All right, so they will all get answered, but some of them on the blog. And if you've joined me on Facebook Live, put your question in the comment section and I will answer it on the blog as well. I have a 30-year-old lace cap hydrangeas that are beautiful but huge. Should I trim them now? Well, you heard me say you don't trim them at all. There is no way you're going to make them shorter, okay? If they're blocking the view from the window, move them. And the best time to move them is either early fall, early September, or early spring, like early April, okay? You're not going to be successful trimming them down. By July of next year, doesn't matter when you trim them, by July of next year, they will be just as tall and you will have few to no flowers. Should I trim aging blooms now if they are rebloomer? If you have them and they're not looking good, by all means, clip them off. Yes. As soon as they're not looking good, if they're not an asset on that plant, clip them off. Sometimes it hastens the production of new flowers. On some of the remontant varieties does not, but at least it will get rid of those plants. And again, short of spraying them blue with spray paint, you might as well clip them off. Is the blue pea powder a natural ingredient? Yes, it is. It's a plant. It is a plant. It's not a true pea, but if you read about it online, it is a plant. It is not a dye, and it will make that beautiful blue color that I had in that cocktail glass. And I even, I make a blue tea, you know, it has antioxidant qualities, so it's like green tea. And it's good for you. In Utah, we have hot, dry summers. What variety do you recommend? Yeah, you just got back from the Cape, and I know you fell in love. Well, first of all, for Utah, you're going to have to come and visit us to see these blue and pink hydrangeas. So come back every hydrangea festival, okay? And you can see private gardens, and you can stay at a different part of the Cape every time and have a ball with those blue hydrangeas. But if you have hot, dry summers, you want paniculatas. That's the best thing. And you'll want to be sure and water them deeply once a week without fail, because we have to take, even with paniculatas, the hydra part of their name seriously. When can you deadhead an ever-bearing hydrangea? I just answered that. Whenever it looks bad, all right? If the flower is no longer attractive, clip it off. How do you manage hydrangeas after a heavy rain when the flowers are down on the ground? You stake them with the method that I showed you. And you can go back and watch the recording of this on the Hyannis Country Garden Facebook page if you don't remember how that goes. So think about that. What do you think about fairy trail cascade hydrangeas? I like them, Joan. I have one in bloom right now. It's a very early to bloom plant, and it does kind of cascade. It is a great plant in a large container. Excuse me. And it is a great plant on a slope or to cascade over a wall. So I like it very much. We have endless summer hydrangeas that have not bloomed except for the bottom. My husband is prune happy. So never prune endless summer at all, except to remove what's dead in late May. If you all go to the hyanniscountrygarden.com website and you go to the resources page on informational handouts, you can download a "How do I prune my blue hydrangeas" handout and hand that to your husband, and it will say you never cut them back, you never neaten them up, you never try and make them shorter. The only pruning you do on these plants is to get rid of something that died in late May. But anything that has green on it, you leave alone. I don't care how tall they are or how wide they are. If you want flowers, that's what you do. And I sympathize, Sue. You know, a lot of guys become Marine Corps barbers when they get pruning equipment in their hands. So here we go. All right, hydrangea for container on north-facing balcony, bright glow light all day, no tree cover. I would use one of the macrophyllus. I would use Let's Dance Can Do, Let's Dance Sky View, Let's Dance Rhythmic Blue, or Summer Crush. Summer Crush is either bright pink or dark purple. All of those are smaller varieties that do quite well in shade. Are Incredibles okay for a north-facing foundation plant? No. You want to have an Incredible in more sunlight. And I can tell you this truthfully, because I planted an incredible in fairly deep shade, and it is not so incredible. It is just acceptable. So it's alive. It has a few flowers, but it is not incredible. So I would use one of the macrophyllus or serratas, one of the lace caps. Tough stuff. That's another one that you could put in a container, or you could put in that northern area. I didn't prune my limelight, not as many blossoms this year. Should I prune those in the fall after flowering? You can prune a limelight either in the fall, the winter, or the very early spring. So number one, pruning always stimulates growth, and these plants flower on new growth, so that's a good thing. Number two, you might fertilize that plant, or even better, first put a little fertilizer down in the spring, an organic fertilizer, something like plant tone or flower tone or holly tone, and then top that with an inch or so of compost or composted manure. That does wonders for plants. And so that combined with some pruning, either fall, winter, or early spring, I'm sure your limelight will get religion for next year. Can you please tell me where the sheet is on the website? You go to hyanniscountrygarden.com. You click on resources tab at the top of the page, all right? And then you will see a drop-down menu, and you will see informational handouts. There are several hydrangea handouts there. So look, there are all kinds of great handouts there, but there are at least, I can think of 4, and there may be even 5 hydrangea handouts there. And so you can download. What is the best way to cut blooms for bouquets? Well, first of all, Karen, I would wait until they get a little older. When those hydrangeas are blue and fresh, like the ones here behind me, they don't last long in a vase. So that's number one. If they get a little bit older, like 3-4 weeks older, they last longer. That's number one. Number two, pick them in the morning. Be sure to keep your plants well hydrated. Plants that are growing in part shade, the flowers will last longer because they haven't been stressed by the sun. Never cut them after you've come home from work and the day's been hot, because that flower is already stressed, okay? And then immediately put them in a bucket of water as you cut them. Bring them into the house. Let them hydrate in a cool room for a while, and then you can put them in your bouquet. But the older those flowers are, the longer they will last. I'm going to answer maybe 2 more questions, and then we will save the chat for sure. Okay. I just purchased Wee Bit Innocent. Do I clip the blossoms off that has started to turn brown? Well, if they've just started, I'd keep them for a while. And you can even clip off the individual brown florets with a pair of scissors if you have the patience, so that you can enjoy them longer. And then once the entire thing turns brown, then clip them off. Keep it well hydrated. If you just bought it, it should already be well fertilized. You know, next year you'll want to fertilize it as well. But that's what you can do, and hopefully it will put out some more flowers. I put in 2 paniculatas this year, and green leaves is starting to fade and turn brown. Leaves are starting to fall off. I don't think it's lack of water. I think it is lack of water. Either that or fertilizer burn if you fertilize them with a synthetic fertilizer. But my guess is you have been watering them by hand, and you've only been directing the water right at the base, which means that the soil all around that plant is dry. You want to water these plants with a sprinkler or a soaker hose that goes all beyond the drip line in the whole area, and you want to leave that sprinkler or soaker hose on for 2 or 3 hours at least once a week. And if it's hot where you are, longer. People tend to think that hand watering is good unless your local water district is saying that you have to water. I guarantee you get bored long before the area around that plant gets well watered. So use a soaker hose that's kind of coiled in the area or a sprinkler. Do it in the morning and run it for a time that's going to soak your soil down a good 10 inches. And the final question, what do you recommend for a foundation plant in Centerville in a little shade in the AM but full sun for a mop head? I would not recommend a mop head in that situation because it's going to brown out really quickly. I would recommend one of the paniculatas, or I would recommend an arborescens. You could grow a pink Invincible Spirit. You could grow Sublime, which is green. You could grow Mini Mauvette, which is a mauve color. Those are all the smooth hydrangeas that tolerate that full sun. Or you could grow any of the paniculatas, and I would recommend Firelight Tidbit because it doesn't get too tall and it turns a beautiful pink color. Well, I think we actually got to all of the questions. It is 6 o'clock, time for dinner. I am so happy that you joined me. If you are on Cape, come and visit my garden on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. And in the meantime, I am wishing you all great hydrangea happiness. Take care and grow great things.